Thank you very much for joining me. I'm meteorologist Brian Shields, and thank you for sharing this channel with others. I appreciate that as you build this weather community. All right, let's just dive right into that. This here is what will become Debby. It should be potential Cyclone 4 pretty soon, or maybe by the time you're watching this, which means they'll issue their official track. The National Hurricane Center will, but we are on track from what we've been talking about together the last few days, and I'll get into that further, but this should be officially classified at least as a potential cyclone, which means a storm to be, if you will. It's kind of weird wording that they sometimes use, but that'll also prompt a lot of watches out for parts of Florida, even potentially over toward parts of the northern Bahamas and back toward parts of Cuba. Potential of tropical storm watches out as we go over the next few days. But this area is getting better organized, and it will get better organized, especially by tomorrow. And look at the heavy rain. The immediate concern is this. Always thinking of you if you're dealing with the flooding. We don't need a named system yet to have all sorts of problems in the Caribbean. Watching some rain and storms near Jamaica, Cayman Islands. Let me know what you're getting or not getting. We're going to see some thunderstorms at times rolling by, even some gustier winds. Central, eastern Cuba, we've had that, and still that chance over toward Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Turks and Caicos, southern Bahamas. Very active as we go throughout the day. But it's this area here. You see the central Bahamas here approaching New Providence. This cluster here is going to work its way toward the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, and it will develop, but never losing sight of the short term. That is the big kind of blob of rain that we're seeing that could lead to some landslides, especially with the higher terrain as we get back toward eastern Cuba. So watching that, plus there's more tropical waves out there. Let's cover this first though. Again, the computer model's all on track to bring this back toward the southwestern sections of the southeastern sections. Man, I keep getting my directions wrong. The southeastern sections of the Gulf of Mexico. Please bear with me. And then eventually swinging this system into Florida, very close to Georgia, just off the coast, and then off the coast of the Carolinas, where it could spin up into a hurricane. Now, it looks like it'll move in a little bit sooner into the peninsula of Florida, which means less time to develop as a hurricane in the Gulf. That can't be ruled out because those water temperatures are so warm. I'll show you that in a moment. So let's get to this. The American model, which has done a really good job with this system. Lots of rain here stretching back through the Bahamas, Cuba, even Jamaica today. Watching out for those areas of rain. Not all day stuff. Some of us may not get it. You may get it in Montego Bay and not in Kingston, or vice versa, but let me know during the in the comments. Then you see here by tomorrow morning working its way into the southeastern Gulf of Mexico. At this point it should start to spin up. This is later in the day on Saturday, feeding off the warm water. Heavier rain, even batches of that, parts of Cuba, northern Bahamas, swinging back towards South Florida. And then you see this area here will try to develop further by tomorrow night, most likely into a tropical storm later in the day tomorrow. And it does have a brief opportunity to become a hurricane. Then it slides across the peninsula right there through the day on Sunday, and then starts to build offshore Sunday night, offshore of Georgia, offshore of the Carolinas. And that's where it will re-intensify and could develop even into a hurricane. Still some uncertainty there. Some of the models have it stall out a little bit, but watching that coastal sections of the Carolinas, all of this action well off to the west of Bermuda, and still the Atlantic region of Canada, since it's crossing over, we're going to monitor that. But you see the tail end of some of this rain still stretching back toward the northern Bahamas by the time we get into early next week. So here's the European model, very similar to what we're seeing now with the American model. All the models in pretty good agreement at this point. And that's why I don't look at the models. I look at really what's going on in the environment to start, so I could give you the best forecast. But you see here, this is by tomorrow as we work our way into about midday tomorrow. This is when it could become a tropical storm. Heavier rain parts of the Bahamas, Cuba, and then moving into South Florida. Here's that area of high pressure over here. You got a clockwise flow around that. So you got the flow around there, you have a front around here, so it kind of gives it this alley. These always look for the path of least resistance. There's an alleyway right here to kind of go up here, and that's why off the coast of the Carolinas, or near the coast of the Carolinas, this system could refire up early next week. So tropical storm trying to work into Florida. Now the European model keeps everything slower. This is on Sunday. It has it a little bit more to the north, anywhere from Tampa to Fort Myers. That's where the American model has it coming on shore, but up toward the Big Bend, that's kind of where the European model has it coming on shore. But either way, it's really hard to tell what will happen as far as that is concerned. But those tropical storm conditions moving across, then this here is on Monday, and a slower slower go on Monday. It's showing some heavier rain over towards Sea Island, Georgia. You get back toward Charleston, South Carolina, kind of a slower moving system. So the European model is slower. That's why I mentioned up toward the Carolinas. If you happen to be watching, some uncertainty with the timing and how much offshore this will be. And then by the time we get into Tuesday, the European model just kind of sits it there. That would really churn up the coast of the Carolinas and then back toward Georgia, those elevated seas, and still seeing these feeder bands. So in the Bahamas, even as we get into early next week, as I was mentioning, if this system is slow up here, you still get those stretches of rain bands, northern and central Bahamas, even into Wednesday of next week. So the European model is kind of slower, and both of them kind of make sense. Just kind of a wait and see on that. Now, how strong will this get? Now, I know this is a crazy map, crazy chart, but it's a very good chart to show. This is 12 hours out, 24 hours out, 36 hours out. So this is about 2 days out. And this here is the strength. So right now it's about to become a potential cyclone, or at least it should. And then you can see it here over time, over the next 2 days, becoming a stronger tropical storm. But then it will work inland, so then it will weaken. There is an opportunity, if it stays over water long enough in the Gulf of Mexico, to become a Category 1 hurricane. We've seen storms go from nothing to something very quickly, as I mentioned. So always watching that. Then it should weaken over land, over the peninsula of Florida. And then once it gets offshore of Georgia and the Carolinas, it should strengthen again as we get into several days out. So just to kind of give you a feel of that. Now, as far as the best track goes, very close to what I've been showing you for the last several days, the most likely path. I've made few tweaks to this. I hope to be a boring weatherman for you, which means I'm doing my job and giving you information and it's staying consistent. This is the most likely path today. Lots of rain, watching that flood concern, especially over toward Cuba. Saturday, tomorrow, we'll see the strengthening, should become Debby, and then Sunday working its way into Florida, right across, right in as a tropical storm. But then as it gets offshore sometime early next week, it could kind of spin up more so into a hurricane off the coast of the Carolinas. So we'll have a couple opportunities to actually become a hurricane. But the next name on the list is Debby, and that's when this one will get tagged. So here we are in the Bahamas. Here's Cuba, Cayman Islands. Here's Jamaica. You get over toward the Florida Keys right here. Here's kilometers an hour and miles per hour to keep everyone covered. This channel is about safety, just trying to get out the proper information. And you see here again, starting to spin up right there. You see that? That's by tomorrow afternoon. It should be a tropical storm. Gustier winds of anywhere from 50 miles per hour or 80 kilometers an hour over toward parts of the Florida Keys. And then you see this kind of donut hole right there, just the center of this, gaining a little strength. But then this is based on the American model. It has it actually roll on shore right near Anna Maria Island and then crossing central Florida. Stronger winds at times, tropical storm conditions across much of the peninsula of Florida, watching that tornado risk. But look at that. By the time we get into Monday, you can see more of that white showing up, even a little bit of red getting near hurricane strength, which would be 110 kilometers an hour or 70 miles per hour. So it does wrap up, or by that I mean kind of strengthen, off the coast of Georgia and the Carolinas. But those feeder bands still stretching in some of that rain back through the Bahamas. Speaking of which, look at those water temperatures, 30, 31 degrees Celsius, as high as in some spots 90, 92 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's why I'm always watching for some quick strengthening out of this. It's getting better organized. The good news is it's not a hurricane at this point. I don't want any strengthening, but at least if it's going to do so, it's doing so slowly, just to try to keep those winds down. Of course, this is the wind shear outlook for tomorrow. Higher wind shear would be in the red, kind of like we're seeing up here. So this is back toward the continental United States, and you see some of the orange and kind of red shading. There's not a lot of wind shear. So just point being, this map's also kind of crazy. Point being, it's not hostile up above. That allows the showers and storms to grow, and that's why there will be strengthening. Water is warm below. Up above, it's kind of calm, and that allows the storms to build up. Conditions are unfortunately conducive for development out of this system. So next name on the list is Debby. We had Beryl, of course. Chris briefly formed in the western Gulf of Mexico and Bay of Campeche while Beryl was happening. Didn't get a lot of headlines, of course, because we know what Beryl did, but Debby is the next name on the list. Then Ernesto, Francine, Gordon, Helene, Isaac, as you just kind of get down the list. Seas are going to be elevated. My sailors, captains, anyone with interest on the water, you know that better than me, of course. Watching this area, seas are going to be elevated. This is today, and then it just kind of depends on the strength of the system to see how much things build, but avoiding the waters, of course, Cuba north, back through the Bahamas, over toward the Florida Straits. This is by tomorrow. But then things will really start to build offshore of the United States in the southeast as this kind of moves across. This is Sunday. We're going to see the seas really building in the Atlantic waters, and not losing sight of what's next. My friends in St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago, watching out for more tropical waves that will be moving in. So we'll get some elevated seas across the Caribbean as we get into early next week. And I'll dive down to our forecast, Dominica, St. Kitts and Nevis in a moment. But then you see there, this is Monday, and you see again some of the seas 5.5 meters, which correlates to about 15 to about 18 feet. Could be higher depending on how strong this system gets. Now, here we are in the Caribbean and watching these tropical waves. This will keep us unsettled at the least. Not seeing much in the way of development possible out of this one in the central portions of the Atlantic. But the next couple coming off the coast of Africa have a higher likelihood of developing. As I've been talking about, August would be more active. It is. That's already happening. But the moisture itself in the atmosphere is going to build as we go throughout the month, and that will make things more conducive for some development. And I don't mean that in a scary way. That is common for this time of year. This out here is Carlotta. Elsewhere, lots of heavier rain. Watching the eastern Pacific, this is behaving, not doing any weird kind of hook back toward Mexico. So that is Carlotta, a hurricane, and that will continue to work its way over the water over the next several days, but monitoring that too. But there's the heavier rain watching Jamaica, even near Haiti, stretching back toward the DR and Puerto Rico, the Bahamas. So watching out for the flood potential. Areas of flooding possible, Costa Rica and Panama, and not as much for us right now in the Eastern Caribbean. Still that chance of some showers at times, but just not as much. So here's that closer look. This is what is soon to be Debby. And as I mentioned, it could be a potential Cyclone 4 by the time you watch this. I hope they do that. It should be that. And then you can see this working its way across Cuba today. Monitoring the flooding, so thank you for sharing this information. Moving forward, this here is by Saturday, and you see some of the rain here stretching up. This is when it starts to really develop into Debby. Elsewhere, Costa Rica, Panama, watching some of the rain. Keep an eye on that next tropical wave. That could give us a few showers, Barbados, for example. And then on Sunday, you can see here, I covered this, but there's that next tropical wave with moisture working in Trinidad and Tobago. A better chance of some rain around St. Vincent, the Grenadines, and Grenada. The rain chance will tick up again, but not seeing signs of development across Trinidad with that next tropical wave. So as far as the rain goes, of course, wherever this system goes, we're going to see these brighter colors of 6 inches of rain. Could be a little bit more in spots. That's about 150 millimeters of rain. So again, some of those downpours, especially back through Cuba, to the north through, of course, the Bahamas and Florida. Elsewhere, it's going to be scattered, but still through here, we need to watch the rivers, especially with some of the rain we had yesterday. Back through Puerto Rico, scattered showers and storms, but Anguilla, St. Martin south, scattered showers and storms, not as much though. And then this here, this elevated rain total right through here, this is really what we'll try to work in on Sunday, later in the day on Sunday, so we could start to get some higher totals. Grenada over toward Trinidad and Tobago on Sunday, and then Guyana and Suriname, scattered areas of rain and storms. I'll dive into that with the forecast, but still here across parts of Central America, still some of those higher totals. Here's Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. Watch, it just kind of depends on what we get today. Watching out for some spots that could get 50 millimeters of rain or a couple inches of rain. Mexico City north on the drier side, and Carlotta, there's that swath of that continues to work away. So now the Atlantic region of Canada, I mentioned how this will build offshore of the Carolinas. This may get a little bit close. I need to watch out for that as we get into the middle of next week. Short term, scattered showers at times. This is our Saturday. Could get a couple of thunderstorms. Hopefully, whatever this system is, I don't wish this on anyone, kind of curves away, but we'll wait and see. This is by the time we get into Sunday, a few showers and storms, but we'll be watching down to the south. So keeping an eye on us in New Brunswick, over toward Nova Scotia, back toward Newfoundland. So Jamaica today, the elevated chance of rain. I'll be going through the comments throughout the day. Scattered areas of rain and some thunderstorms. Some could be quite gusty. Please be mindful of the lightning. If you hear thunder, please do take shelter if you can. Cayman Islands, same thing, very unsettled with his tropical disturbance. Trinidad and Tobago, I may raise that rain chance a little higher on Sunday. I put this together myself looking at everything all night. Should be more of about a 60% chance as we work our way into Sunday. Should have adjusted that. You can see the rain chance just ticking up with that next tropical wave in Barbados by Sunday, and we'll see some scattered showers possible in St. Lucia. About a 30% chance the next couple days in Grenada, but you see the second half of the weekend turning a little wetter. St. Same thing, St. Vincent the Grenadines with another tropical wave, but not seeing development out of that. 40 to 50% chance across Martinique. We swing toward Dominica. 30 to 40% chance the next 3 days, and about a 40% chance of some passing showers in Guadeloupe. Rain chance 20 to 30%. Antigua and Barbuda, 20 to 30% chance. St. Kitts and Nevis and Montserrat, 20 to 30% chance. Anguilla and St. Bart's, and an isolated 30% chance. St. Martin, Saba, and Statia. Rain chance is higher today in Puerto Rico with that tropical disturbance moving over toward Cuba. Still on the back end, some scattered showers and storms possible. May get a couple over toward the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. And there we go in the Bahamas. Again, the rain chance simply staying elevated. We have some of the rain around right now with this tropical disturbance. Let me know in the Bahamas if you do have any flooding issues. Turks and Caicos, better chance today with that tropical disturbance, and staying unsettled today across the Dominican Republic and back toward Haiti, and watching those river crossings. Now we swing over toward Belize. Scattered showers and storms, 40% chance, not super high. Aruba, we're mainly dry. Curacao, we may catch a shower on Sunday, and hopefully some of that moisture from Trinidad eventually makes its way over. Guyana, rain chance holding at 40 or 50%, a 40 to 50% chance in Suriname, 80 to 90% chance though in Cuba. Areas of flooding, watching out for those tropical downpours around. Costa Rica, 70% chance, 40 to 50% chance in Nicaragua, and about the same thing as we work our way back toward Honduras. Rain chance 50 to 60%, Guatemala and El Salvador, and about a 50 to 60% chance in Mexico City. Rain chance 30 to 40% across the Yucatan Peninsula, and just an isolated shower in northern Colombia. A few spotty showers, more isolated in northern Venezuela, and we're looking pretty good in Bermuda, of course, watching this system. So going forward, safety is number one. Watching these tropical downpours with the flooding that's going on right now, landslides and river crossings. This area moves into the Gulf of Mexico where it will develop, and it should get the next name. Next name on the list is Debby. That'll develop for tomorrow. And then again, I showed you that track that it will be taking. Everything right on track on this channel. Just want to get out the correct information and pass that along. And then a couple more strong tropical waves coming off the coast of Africa. So thank you for sharing this information, and I hope you're staying safe through this this storm that is now developing. Keep me posted. Have a good and safe rest of your day.